Now, similar to this, attestation, there is certification for your cloud control. And again, this is the place where I know others you are pretty much familiar with, that you usually work with the 27001. So because what we are going to consider is the certification of the cloud. Okay. So, and security information management system certificate from ISO, that what we will be considering. Okay. So while the SOC was the attestation, ISO 27001 process of information security management system is designed for your certification. Upon passing the audit process, any organization can have its information security management system certified. Okay. And ISMS will typically ensure that that a structured, measured, and ongoing way of viewing security is taken across an organization, allowing security impact and risk-based decision to properly managed. Okay, so we have structured ways, and we have a lot of the approach how to go there and work with over there here. Right. Okay. Then of crucial importance is the your top down sponsorship and endorsement of information security across the businesses. So it highlights its overall value and necessity. So now what again I have done, I have tried to just summarize the domains. So any more domain after 2 pages, I think I have add these things. So after this thing, if you want to add any other thing, yeah, we can discuss them as well. So first is the information security policies. It is setting up the policy for information security defined and approved by your management, published and communicate to all the employees and all the relevant external parties. The policy for information security are going to be reviewed at planned intervals, or if there is a significant changes that happen in the organization, so you will be reviewing that. Then organization of information security, it has to do with the responsibility of being defined and allocated. It has to do with the all your conflicting duty and area of responsibility being segregated, and reduce all the opportunity for any unauthorized and unintentional modification or misuse of the information. So we just try to cover up the gray area, overlapping area, right? So where segregating the responsibility duty, right? We are trying to do that so that there is no issue. Each and everyone have proper responsibility defined, permission defined, so that it shouldn't be the case, maybe that person has deleted it, or this person's job was this, it is not mine. So we try to do segregation of the duty over here. Okay. Human resource security has to do with the background verification check on all candidates for employment, and this has to be carried out with the accordance with the relevant laws and regulation and ethics that are proportional to your business requirement. Okay. Then the asset management is related to asset association with information and information processing facility being identified as an inventory of these assets being drawn upon and manipulated. Means you have to simply, in simple term, you have to just manage the assets, right? So we need to asset tag the given the particular asset ID, we need to track them as well. So those things should be in the proper place. Then there is the access control. It has to do with the policy that are established to document and review based of the business information security requirement. This is related to your network access, uh, you know, network services being authorized for you. So who can access the network, how they can do that. So it will be all related to that access control. Now, cryptography is going to be the policy which is going to make use of your all of your uh, the cryptographic control that you have, for the, let's say that for the protection of some information, that how you will develop the, any particular cryptographic control, how you'll be implementing them. It will be the policy related to that. So policy for the use, policy for use is protection of your lifetime management of the cryptographic key and verifying the development and implementation of cryptography across the whole life cycle at the different stages. If you will be testing the out that, okay, I have to test it out that my cryptographic first, my controls, function, devices, services, where I have to apply it, where I have to store keys, everyone is working just fine, right? I have to make sure of that. Then if I make sure of that, I need to make sure that I am doing proper life cycle management of that, but how it will work. Now, physical and environment security has to do with the protection of the area which is containing your sensitive or critical information. Like, there are the talks like KFC's secret spices. They have a recipe, it is stored in a locker, who will be there. So if you have something like that, trademark or some, your intellectual property, very top secret, your, business secret is there. So physically, if you have a store somewhere, so you have to, that is a critical information, you have to protect the area over there. It would be, this would be the whole processing facility. It would be the, all the compartmentalized area throughout the organization that you have created. How to give them the security, that would be the part. So operation security is documentation that is available for all users that needs them. Changes to the organization business process, information processing facility, and system that affect information security, they will be controlled via the operation security over here. Now, communication security has to do with the network being protected and controlled, and the application would control them to service level that would manage them being maintained, right? So what you are doing, you are just going with the communication security, protecting the network properly, the channels, the application that is using them. If you are using something like the SDN, right? So we have to make sure, even though you are using SDN, so we were talking about the communication you have to secure. Now we have, the duty, or we will, but we have to do when we are talking about the system acquisition, development, and maintenance. This is the whole phase, right? So we are talking about the information system across their entire life cycle. So whether, something you are developing in, internally, or something you build or you develop internally or you acquire from somewhere, okay, whether it is on the public or private network, the acquisition process and development process and maintenance, all these things should be considered. Whether you are developing it's your own network, whether you're your third party, or, you are, a very simple example is we use the key escrow, okay, for recovering the keys. So are this is allowed, if this is allowed in your lifecycle management, where you will be storing it, how, how these things will work, how, where will be the key stored, so everything, whatever which system you are acquiring, developing, maintaining, so you have to think about the whole life cycle over there. Now, supplier relationships, they have to do with the, you just want to mitigate the risk that is associated with your supplier, right? So when supplier is accessing the organization, its asset, and, what they are doing, they are bringing some risk with them, so you want to mitigate those risks. Okay, so you come up with these some, relationship rules that is allowed, some NDAs that they need to sign, so that kind of thing is there. Then incident management, it is making sure, is it, incident management ensure the consistent and effective approach to the management of your information security incident, including communication on security event and weaknesses. And we have already seen the whole life cycle of the incident management that should be there. Then, business continuity management. This is going to be related to the organization determining its requirement for information security and continuity of the information security if adverse situation come upon to the organization as the let's say that there is a disaster. So how well you can continue? Let's say there was your system down, still you are able to give 70% of your services, 70% of the service, although some traffic 30% of loss is there, but still you are able to somehow handling this thing. So you are achieving your business goal still. And now when we are talking about the compliance, it has to simply do with your legislative, statutory, and regulatory, and even your contractual agreement that organization must meet or organization must follow in to carry their business. So it is explicitly identified, documented, and kept up to date for each information system and organization. So those are the legal binding. And yesterday we were all talking about the same thing, that those contracts are for the when things they goes bad, not when things are going good. So that would be the ISO IEC. Now, code of practice for ISO IEC, a complementary. This is a complementary document. A complementary document is code of practice ISO IEC 27002. So what this is doing, this is just providing the guideline for the organization organization information security standard, including the what control you should be selecting, how you should be implementing and managing those controls, and uh, it is with that it is going to take in the account or take into the consideration that the what is organization information security risk environment. Okay, what are the risk environment? On the basis of that, it is going to just talk about the provide some guideline on the what kind of the security controls you should be having, the selection of them, the implementation, how you should be managing them. It is just regarding that guideline, and it is designed to be used by the organization that intend to select control within the process of implementing an information security management system, ISMS, based on the 27001. So if someone is thinking to implement with that, so it is specifically it is designed to use by the with the control of that 27001. It can also be used by the organization to implement commonly acceptable information security control. So any organization just want to deploy some of the security control which is just commonly acceptable, and develop then someone who want to develop their own information security management guideline, so it can help those peoples as well. Now it contain a list of security control objective and recommendation, right? So it recommend a range of very specific security control according to your industry's best practices, and it is leaving all it up to the organization to decide what kind of level and what kind of control you know uh, is appropriate given the risk tolerance of any specific operating environment, right? That is going to be there. So it is just giving you the guideline, giving you the list of the control in simple terms. So ISO 27002, which is kind of a supportive or guiding principle for 27001, assigning you or suggesting you something that these are the control, just talk your what are your requirement. Okay, what is your requirement, what are your risks specific to your organization, uh, what you should be controlling and what you should not be. Okay, just choose from this list. It is just giving you the suggestion and some guideline over here, right? So this is the ISO 27002. Then ISO 27018, it is again important. So as you have already given the exam of the CCSK and CCAK, I think there was some question from this What we were talking about was uh, we were talking about the ISO 27018. It speaks the code of practice for protecting PII in your public cloud. Okay, so the first element is going to be the your first element is going to be your consent. It has to do with the consent. That is, cloud service provider must not use any personal data that they have received for advertising and marketing unless unless expressly instructed to do so by the customer. Means unless your customer is giving you the consent of using the data to use it for the marketing and advertisement, you should not be using that. And it also must be possible for customer to use the service without submitting to such use of their personal data for advertising and marketing. If as a customer I don't want it to be used for the marketing and all, we can have that thing over there, so we can force my customer over there. Now control is related to the customer having explicit control of how their information should be used. Transparency transparency is related to the cloud service provider informing customer where their data resides, disclosing the use of subcontractor to process their PII, and to make clear commitment about how the data is handled. And then there is going to be the communication in case of breach. A cloud service provider should notify customer and keep clear record about the incident and their response to it. Okay. There is an independent yearly audit. A successful third party audit of the cloud service provider's compliance document, the service, of this, their compliance document, the services conformance with the standard, and showing that they can be trusted upon by the customer, support their own regulatory obligation to remain compliant in the industry that they are participating in. So just to prove that yes, we are following all the code of conduct, all the policies, governance, all the things over there.